dicen el negro llorona, negro pero cariñoso. Todos me dicen el negro llorona, negro pero cariñoso. Yo soy como el chile verde, llorona, picante pero sabroso. Yo soy.
Hello, thank you for being here. My name is JC Juan Carlos Montenegro. Voting is very important. I don't know how many of you know, but voting is a privilege, not just a right. Voting is important because it gives you your voice, your power to choose what you want. Google exists now so that you can Google a proposition, you can Google a candidate and see what you think about them, and really base it on what you believe in. So that's the beauty of this country, is that you get to choose who to vote for and why, and you don't get that in many places. And so voting is important because it's your civic duty. It's a responsibility that not many countries get to give you. And so many of our parents, ourselves, have sacrificed to try to make a better life for ourselves. And so this is your way to make a difference by choosing to vote and voting for what you want. There's a lot of things that go on in politics that maybe we don't understand. That's okay. You can Google it. You can ask about it. You can do your homework, do your research. The more informed you are, the better. So again, it doesn't have to be a task that takes forever, but know that it's a choice that you have. Nobody else can take that from you. Your vote is your decision. Sometimes there's judges up for re-election. You're like, who's this person? You can enter that person's name on Google and see what they're about, see what the way to decide cases if they're a judge, the way the proposition goes, who's supporting it. You can tell a lot by the measure depending on who's supporting it. But there's a lot of measures that are important, and they help us with little things like building roads. They help us with transportation, with programs for families, programs for affordable care. Do your homework, spend a little time, because it's important. Nobody chooses that but you, and then later on when the decision is made and you didn't have your voice on it, then don't be upset. So do your homework, get engaged, learn about it, and decide, because it's important for our future. It's important for the future of our families, your friends, family, children. They will all benefit or not from your choice. So it is important. It is worth the time. Take the time to learn about it and decide.
So my name is Ulysses, born and raised in Boyle Heights, 38 years old, going on 39. So yeah, I'm probably a little older than those of you watching the video. I got my canas right here, my lonjas right here. Growing up in Boyle Heights, the pan dulce, the taco trucks, it is what it is. My parents come from Zacatecas. I was born here in Boyle Heights, but my parents immigrated from Mexico. My mom actually crossed the Rio. She tried to cross the desert when my brother was 3 years old. On his third birthday, they got caught by the migra. Got sent back to Mexico, and in the middle of the night, my mom, with my brother on her shoulders, crossed the Rio Grande with my dad helping her cross the river, waiting for my uncle at the other side to get in the car, and they drove straight from the border to Pacoima. It's a story of sacrifice. It's a story of like risking everything you got, and I think those of you who are watching this video right now probably came from an environment where your parents made similar sacrifices. If you're first or second generation, either you did it or your grandparents, but you are here where you are because somebody made that sacrifice for you. And now as young adults, probably young parents, you're finding yourself making these sacrifices so that your kids have something to benefit from and moving forward and being able to have something that you leave for them. But you're also young enough to build something for yourself. Right now in our country, we're in a real tight bind. the reality is that, especially, I'm assuming you're probably Latinos, maybe Mexican generation, right? Or at least Latino community members. We're people that are being polarized and being called criminals, drug dealers, rapists. The scum of the earth. We're a piece of shit. That's really the reality that's being said about who we are as a people. The president of this country doesn't give a fuck about you. He doesn't give a fuck about your kids. He doesn't give a fuck about our parents, our grandparents, anybody that's part of our lineage, our community. And we're seeing laws and legislation that are being passed to demoralize who you are as a person and minimize your value as a person. You know, there was back then in the days when slavery was around, blacks were considered a fraction of human beings. And the stuff we're seeing around is looking for our community to be put in that situation. So, or do you want somebody to look at your son and say, hey, you're only worth half a person? For your daughter to be looked at and said, you're half of a person. Your wife, your daughter, your wife, your grandparents don't have a right to deal with their own bodies as women, to be able to choose their own decisions, to get the medical care that they decide, or to have the opportunities of education that they deserve. That's what it means to vote these days. So yeah, you get a ballot in the mail, you fill it out and turn it in, or you go on the voting day, and you're like, fuck, I'm tired. But that vote means something. Because that vote is really your ultimate statement to tell everybody else and tell the government, this is what I believe is important. And that's when your voice matters. So you can post shit on Twitter, you can post stuff on Facebook, you can post your Instagram and say fuck Trump and fuck all this and make your memes, but it doesn't mean shit unless you fucking vote. And it's when you vote that your voice actually matters. That's when you're saying the sacrifices from your family, the sacrifices that you make, and everything that is important for your kid's future is important to you enough that you're gonna cast that ballot. So keep that in mind if you're like, am I gonna vote? And that day is where you're saying, does my voice matter? Do I want my voice to matter? Do your kids matter? Do your parents matter? Do your abuelitas matter? Keep that in mind. So make sure to vote.
Sé cómo se siente amor, cómo muerde el corazón cuando sin ti el alma. Perdón, nunca quise ser tu madre.